won't hold us back, raising awareness through every track. All-Star PD Sportscast on the rise, shouting loud, reaching the skies. Can't stop, won't stop, our game is strong, fighting Parkinson's all day long.
Welcome everyone back. It's been a little while, although we meet monthly. I feel like time goes so slowly and we need more of these shows because it's such an important mission we're all on together. But again, welcome back to a new episode of All-Star PD Sportscast. I'm your one of the co-hosts, Sharon's son George, Dr. George Ackerman, along with me, my brother here in advocacy, Tim Lockhart, and also known throughout the world at MYPDPARTY. So please also support him and all he does. He's a Parkinson's warrior. Unfortunately, I lost my mother due to Parkinson, but we continue to fight in her memory, and everybody's out there. Today's guests are very, very important. Again, today in this show, we talk about the world of sports and slowing the progression of Parkinson's. And today, as you notice, because of Tim's incredible expertise, we're live at the golf field, and we have no one better than my literal family member, Michael here, Michael Whelan, a legend in golf, and he'll get more into it, but we all want to dedicate today to his beautiful wife and incredible Rebecca, who is battling Parkinson's. And of course, Michael is also battling cancer, but he's going to, they're both going to beat this because he's a warrior. And you can also follow him on X, but we're going to talk about all that as I hand the show over to my best brother here in the fight to find a cure. And until then, to keep awareness going. We need everyone out there to share this, to support Tim and Michael and all they do. And thanks again, Tim. Welcome back. It's great to see you.
My brother, how are you? What's shaking, PD Warriors? I'm so excited about this show today. I got to tell you, when I did a little bit of a deep dive into Mr. Whelan's brief history, or extensive history, I should say, it made my head explode. This man has done so much, and his story is truly amazing. And I think people need to know. And I know we're not going to have time for all of that today because we're trying to focus on golf and Parkinson's, but people need to realize that this man has done a lot and seen a lot. And I'm so excited for today. I cannot wait to dive deep into this conversation with him.
Well, I'm glad I now have a PR agent that I can take around me in the world now. So thank you very much for that fabulous introduction.
Thank you, sir. And listen, I got to ask you before we do a little bit of a dive into the PD world. And I say this because my son just graduated college and he's an aspiring photographer, wants to get into producing, loves sports. I cannot wait to discuss your story with him. You got to tell me, how does somebody go from possibly going down the medical route to waking up one day and realizing that they had a lot to offer in production? You were a true artist. That's amazing. What light went off?
Well, it really wasn't the light. It was something that I always wanted to do, but never knew the opportunities that existed out there. I went to St. Mary's College, the Galloping Gales in Moraga. I was very blessed to go on a baseball scholarship. Otherwise, I would not have been able to go to college. I grew up in kind of a very low income family, so that would not have been possible. But my father was always involved in medicine. My dad worked with the Pittsburgh Pirates back in '60 when they won the World Series with the only walk-off home run ever in Game 7.
And you were a backbone, weren't you?
Yep, I was the guy who stuck next to my dad, a little tiny guy, and my dad then my parents divorced, and my dad went from the Pittsburgh Pirates to becoming a part of those great New York Knicks teams back in the '60s with Willis Reed and Walt Frazier and Dick Barnett and Bill Bradley, when the Madison Square Garden just rocked with electricity. How did I get involved? Way back then, I was going to go to NYU. I was going to go into orthopedics at the time. Medicine, anatomy, physiology were things that just came very easy for me. So I didn't really realize what other choices that I had, but it just happened very quickly. At the time, I had a date. We went to a cast party for a soap opera called All My Children at the time, and it was the first time that I actually got to go and see how television shows are put together. So when I was sitting in the control room and watching the producers, the directors, all of the people that go into putting shows together, the the analogy of it was exactly like a sports team that everybody had to work together and had controlled chaos to have it done. I was just blown away by it. Now, that particular evening at the party, I was introduced to the president of CBS at the time, and the gentleman, Terry O'Neill, happened to know my father and said, "Look, I know you want to be a doctor or an orthopedic or a physical therapist, but just in case you ever decide that you don't want to go into medicine, please give me a call." And I went home that night. I thought about it, and within 24 hours, I called him back. I had a quick interview. I got offered the job as they called it a broadcast associate. I mean, this was the first year that John Madden was starting with CBS. That's how far back that was. But when I went home and told my father this, my dad lost his mind. He thought I had lost my mind. I mean, not a lot of people get accepted to NYU, and telling my dad that I'm dropping out to go into a television business where I'm going to be making $12,000 a year. My father and his wife pretty much disowned me for a while. I mean, they threw me out of the house. I had a few dollars. I lived in the basement of a YMCA for a few months. And luckily, a friend of mine who from Hawaii moved back to Hoboken, New Jersey, and he had an extra bedroom, and we were off to the races. So, I got into television probably not the way that most people do. I didn't know very much about it. I probably was a little bit immature at the time, looking back. I didn't last very long at CBS. They made a lot of changes. They let me go. It was first in, first out. And I just got very lucky that out of the blue, I got a call from HBO asking if I was available to do a 14-day production with marvelous Marvin Hagler, the middleweight fighter back then. And they signed me for 14 days, and it went on for 14 years.
Well, and I'll tell you the reason. I know George is going to have some questions for you, obviously, as well. But I'm going to tell you why. The reason I somehow relate this to my Parkinson's is I have three boys myself, and when you get diagnosed, I don't know if it's me thinking about my own mortality or being living in a now and practicing gratitude. I'm trying to teach my kids that while it's a necessary evil, money and having a job, I think it's more important to do what you love.
Absolutely.
And I think that you are a true example of that. I mean, I read stories about that. You feel you became an artist that, believe it or not, and I hope this is okay to say, through being the child of a divorce. That's how you became a storyteller. Did I read that wrong?
100% true. When I was a young kid, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, I had learning disabilities. I lisped. I had dyslexia. I had challenges reading. I was frightened every Friday when we got up to do our book reports. So because I couldn't read, I would make up the books. So I would get up in front of everybody, make up a name of a book, and I would sit there for 30 minutes, and off the top of my head, I would just like a rapper, freelance rapper going at it. And then one day, I was called into my teacher's office, and he said, "Michael, these books don't exist. What's going on?" And that was the first time that anybody took any interest in the issues that I was having. They had a speech therapist, and I got help. And when I got diagnosed with dyslexia, with reading problems, with ADHD, when I started to get the help, things started to change for me. So it was, you got to remember, a lot of people who are watching this, the 1960s and the 50s and the 70s, it was a whole different world back then. First of all, divorce was a scarlet letter. Families didn't divorce in the 60s. Nobody did. So, my father was a well-known person with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I was a young kid, and I had to explain to all of my friends why my dad was never around. So yeah, I mean, I became a raconteur of stories to cover my shame and embarrassment back then. Uh, I didn't have a dad; he wasn't around. This famous person who everybody was admired, but you know, he didn't play a role in my life, and there was a lot of pain and suffering in the Whelan home back then, and it's very hard to share that. And even as I moved forward with CBS, with HBO, with the Golf Channel, with NBC, uh, it's today when you talk about mental health issues, you're applauded and you're put on a pedestal, and how brave Michael Phelps or these athletes are for coming out of the closet. Well, hell, I came out of the closet back in the 50s and 60s, and people looked at me like I was crazy. Uh, you know, my bipolar disorder and anxiety and these issues, it's kind of difficult when you get hired to build a $1 billion company. The last thing I'm going to tell to Arnold Palmer is, oh, and by the way, I have severe bipolar disorder. So Lord knows what you're going to get. So most creative geniuses, and I don't know if that's the right word. If it isn't, I apologize for. But whether you're an artist or whether you're a musician or whether you're an actor, a lot of our strength and our great creative wherewithal comes from that pain that also lives inside of us as well. I walk a very fine line every single day between genius and madness, kind of like John Nash in A Beautiful Mind. Until I was helped and until they got me regulated with medications, I was on a very, very, very dark spiraling road downhill where I wasn't even sure if I wanted to live, and that's how dark mental health uh, is for most people. It's darkness, darkness invisible, and most of us, we isolate and we don't share, and we live our own lives, and uh, it's something that's very, very challenging. So as time went on and I became got a position where I had a voice, I've now tried to use it to make sure that people don't feel alone. And it doesn't matter if it's Parkinson's, or if it's cancer, if it's ALS, if it's suicide prevention, if it's animal rescue. My job is to help those that just don't have the voice and don't know where to go. And I will shout at the top of my lungs until the day I die to make sure that everybody out there is heard.
Thanks. I wanted to get right into some of the important areas, and also if everybody wants to look more in depth with Michael, you can also go to togetherforsharon.com, click podcasts, then Q&A with Sharon St. George, where I had the opportunity to sit down for a longer time together and learn more about Michael's journey. But also you can follow him, which is very important, and we speak every day on there. But and Michael J. Whelan on X, and also I'll share this in the notes with Tim. And really what today is about is a lot that we really wanted to touch on, and that's possibly slowing the progression of Parkinson's through golf. Maybe you could touch a little bit about, your connection to Parkinson, and if I don't know how much experience you have with slowing the progression of Parkinson's in golf, but maybe you can also talk about how we can get some of those big time golf celebrities involved, because as we are well aware, Tim and I, and during this show, we're trying to get the word out there. I feel, and Tim probably would agree, that we need the world, not just people who have loved ones like Michael and I, or people battling like Tim. We need everybody, even people who aren't aware. Until then, I feel we're further from a cure, but because of your work, Michael, and the people you've worked with, and also everyone out there, and we need Tiger Woods to come on the show next time.
Yeah, we look at the end of the day, uh, we need to get more voices to advocate for a lot of different diseases that are out there, and it's strength in numbers. I wasn't that aware of how Parkinson's disease played a role in the golf world, but I've come to learn that almost everybody that we come across in our life is dealing with some issue. It doesn't matter if it's cancer, it doesn't matter if it's ALS, if it's Parkinson's, if it's mental health. It's everybody's got their own story, and what we have to do is we have to slow down as a society and stop being a giant ant colony of just millions of ants, running around rampant and not taking the time to sit and help one another. So, my goal is to use whatever voice I can, use whatever people I possibly can to help. It's harder. The cancer advocacy for me when I was diagnosed back in 2022 with the head and neck cancer, that seemed to be a lot easier than the Parkinson's advocacy. My wife, back in 2018, I remember it. It was February 14th, 2018. And I remember it because it was the day of the Parkland shootings here in Florida. And I just remember that date that her and I both came down, with the worst flu we ever had. It was unlike anything that I had ever experienced. We were bedridden for about 2 or 3, maybe 4 weeks, and it was at that particular time that Rebecca said to me, "I don't think I'm ever going to get better." And it was a statement that I didn't even know how to respond to, because we've had flus and millions of times in people's lives. But for some reason, whatever happened to her on that particular day just put into motion the early stages of Parkinson's disease that has only gotten worse in the last 7 years now. So I was forced into becoming a caregiver. Uh, you know, as I've always said to you, George, and everybody else, I'm with Rebecca till the end, for better or for worse, for richer, for poorer, and we're getting closer to poor than richer. And in health and not in good health. But I am going to do everything for the woman who I love more than anything in the world, and I'm going to do everything I can for all of my brothers and sisters around the world who are going through or are experiencing the same thing. And advocacy is something that I just love. I just love the ability to recognize that if we all come together, how powerful and strong we all are. But we've all got to take responsibility and do our job. And unfortunately, there are just still so many people with the ability to make things happen that just aren't doing their job yet.
Thanks. And again, hope we could dedicate today to Rebecca and all those battling Parkinson today. Before I throw it back to Tim, I just do think golf is a fascinating sport. I myself don't play, but might be going towards that since my basketball career is over because of my back issues for another show. But the interesting thing with golf is it's not just about playing it that might slow the progression, but the tremendous help in fundraising it has been around the
Huge.
world. The amount of money, millions, beyond millions, have been made on a golf course and bring so many together to find a cure, whether it's, Michael J. Fox Foundation, I notice here, I believe Parkinson's UK might even have one, and this a famous group called Putting for Parkinson's that I've interviewed on my show. I tried to get them to ours, so maybe someday they will. But it's very amazing, to see that you can use sports not just for passion, for fun, for entertainment, and for kind of, being with other people, social, but also to do some great things. And as Tim kind of brings in, I just curious if we can, what way we can bring some of these other, again, big names to the table, because I think that that would change the world. So maybe Tim, you could take it away.
Well, George, you kind of just touched upon it. That's what I was just going to say is, I mean, I always found, and I'll post some pictures of me on a driving range, which are probably going to look pretty poor, but as far as a physical therapy aspect and how it relates to golf, I don't think it's a tremendously taxing sport as opposed to some of the other ones, but I definitely think there's something to be said for, like you said, the social aspect of it. Just getting out, just walking at your own pace, walking the course, socialization, getting some vitamin D, um, getting the muscles moving. I think it's something that could be done at a lot easier of a pace than most other sports. And I think it definitely brings a lot to the table from a therapy standpoint. So I definitely think golf is something that people should look into for sure. As far as a therapy goes, I mean, I know, like I said, when I was diagnosed, you feel isolated. I mean, it's tough for caregivers, like yourself, for the patient to tell them what's going on and to ask for help. So it could be a very lonely disease. So I definitely think the socialization aspect of it is great. And I definitely, as far as Michael goes, like I said, the Rolodex of people that this man knows would make your head explode. He has done such tremendous work in his time. It's amazing. So like I said, like Michael said, we got to get the people out there to advocate. There's always strength in numbers. I definitely think that unfortunately the people with the big spotlights on them, the Michael J. Foxes, the Brett Favres of the world, the Kirk Gibsons, when they could do right, as far as putting their name out there and putting a stamp out there, that definitely goes a long way for sure.
I think you're absolutely right. I wrote an article today, an essay. I actually I write editorials that I send to the New York Times and to the Washington Post every day about the world that we're in. Today's essay that I wrote had to do with not that we just don't recognize tragedy until it knocks on our door. So, the unfortunate thing about whether it's golf or boxing or baseball, or it doesn't matter. The way that things get managed and things get done is, when these high-powered celebrities all of a sudden discover that somebody in their family, nuclear family, somebody who they love, is all of a sudden is struck down with an illness, and unfortunately, that's just the way it happens to go. Most of these athletes today are being bombarded by every single, cancer and ALS and diabetes foundation, and everybody wants Tiger Woods and LeBron James and Tom Brady and whoever it is. But
We
yeah,
did.
yeah, and as you two guys know more than I do, nothing gets done until until it strikes home,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, like me, trying to do whatever I can for Rebecca, I'm absolutely, flabbergasted the lack of support and help that's really out there. I mean, I mean, George writes some of these most beautiful things about Parkinson's, and you go online and five people respond to it. But the person on X who asks, "What do you want on your hot dog, mustard or ketchup?" That person gets 90,000 views on that.
It's crazy.
So we're just in a world that's a little backwards, where up is down and down is up and left is right. And I had somebody this week complaining that my essays are too long. I mean, that's the world that we live in right now, is that people don't read, people don't educate, people don't take time too long, 8 minutes about cancer, or 8 minutes about mental health, or 8 minutes of, I mean, that's too long. So that, we just live in a very different time right now. But it doesn't mean that things can't get fixed. We just have to work twice as hard. And unfortunately, the ones that are going to step up to the plate are the ones that get the knock on the door, like I did in 2022. That you might not have very hard to live, when they found the squamous cell malignant carcinoma in my neck, uh, and and you could either become a victim, or you can use it as a way to support others. I chose to support others. And I think sports is very interesting. It's I, I'm amazed that how athletes become very great advocacy people, because I think cancer and other diseases, when it happens to an athlete, we just have a little bit of that DNA, that we fight a little bit harder because we've had to in our sports. We take on challenges against teams that are better than us. We fall behind in games, and we're the underdog, and we're behind 20 points at halftime, and what's being said by the coaches and the team to get us going. So I think that we just happen to have a DNA that we're used to being behind, counted out, uh, and so if you count me out, I'm going to come back uh, and work a little bit harder. And you might beat me, but you only beat me because I ran out of time. I mean, if there was another quarter, I would have won. So it's just a matter of doing everything that we possibly can. And sports icon and sports athletes um, are just really, really good at getting the message out there, once they get their stuff together and realize how they can make a difference. And that's the hard thing right now, is getting all of these men and women who can raise billions of dollars in one day if they wanted to, uh, and make a lot of difference. I try to raise money for cancer trials, for mental health. It's tough. It's just a lot of stuff going on out there right now. Uh, these all these people are being bombarded by so many people, but um, you know, it's I'm never ever ever going to give up, and I am 100% guaranteed that I am stronger than any storm that's out there.
As we kind of wrap up, we also are thinking of you and your fight with cancer, and we send love and support, and we want to cure, obviously, for everything. We concentrate, obviously, on this show on Parkinson, but it's interesting. I think we might need to go back and do more research. I don't, we do hear a lot of athletes, celebrities talking about Parkinson, but I've never heard yet for golf, and I guarantee maybe they're just private and quiet. Over generations and decades, there's somebody out there that's pretty popular that either has a family member battling it or themselves have it. I just think we need more people to, like you said, to come out and to fight alongside of Tim, me, and everyone listening. I brought my gear today, my golf balls. So I wanted to
Are,
touch.
tho- are those the ones that go straight?
I don't know.
Probably not.
USA always golf.
There you go.
I
Well,
wanted to.
once again, I think what you've done, you two guys, is um, you've at least put a little you know, bug in my ear that I've got to reach out to the golf community and find out to see who out there has a relationship with Parkinson's. I've been pretty focused on cancer for so long, but obviously with Rebecca's Parkinson's, I've become a lot more of an advocate these days with the Parkinson's, because I just feel that it's under supported. I just think that too many people are dropping the balls and they're not doing the type of work that we need. And I'm going to figure out why. I'm a problem solver, and I just know that when I see the beautiful stuff that you guys do, and it's not getting the traction, we've got a problem, and we will fix that problem, and we will get the necessary people to put it right there in the spotlight. I haven't really shared much with Michael J. Fox. One of the few people that I don't know real well, but but we will get in touch with them and see what it is that we need to do to help people, so that whether you're a caregiver for your husband, for your wife, your brother, your sister, your niece, your nephew, that there's more support out there, and I'm finding it myself that there's not a lot for me to find right now, and I find that surprising that it isn't bigger what it is. Women's breast cancer did a fabulous job for decades, promoting, supporting, advocating, and I think that there's a lot of diseases that are just way behind. They got to get their stuff in gear and start to move a little bit.
You know what I would say in closing, because I know, George, we have to wrap this up. I would urge anybody who does not know Michael's story to again, like I said in the intro, he's such an amazing example of, I mean, making these huge projects with little budgets and having such a great vision. I mean, CBS, HBO, Inside the NFL, the Golf Channel. It's truly amazing, your story, sir. And to think that through all that, some of your best work might be happening right now, as far as what you're battling personally. You're fighting for your beautiful wife, Rebecca. And like you said, we need to get the word out there. And I think I'm so grateful that you're spending some time with us today. And I always close the show, at least from my end, with a little phrase, so to speak, that kind of ties into what we're talking about. So I researched a quote from your buddy, Arnold Palmer. Winning isn't everything, but wanting it is. The road to success is always under construction. We're never,
Yep.
It's never good enough. We could always evolve. We could always do better. And that's what we're doing with this. And thank you so much, sir.
Well, and the only way I'm ever going to come back on the show is if you call me Michael. When I hear sir, I feel too old. So it's Michael from now on. And what we have to do is we've got to come up with some type of a syllabus of what it is that we can do to start to make some changes. Because I'm not as versed in the Parkinson's world as I am with cancer and mental health and animal rescue, but I will, because I'm online, 4 or 5 hours a day, figuring out how do I make my wife's life better. And as I'm doing that, it's not just for Rebecca. Everything that I find is for each and every one of us and our families that are going through the same thing. Nobody should have to be left alone. Nobody should have to worry about financial toxicity of going bankrupt to save their lives. Nobody should not be able to see the finest positions that we have. And so, that's what I'm going to be doing. And I guarantee you, a year from now, when we're having another conversation, it's going to look a lot different than it is today.
Well, I wanted to thank you, Michael, of course, and of course, my co-host, Tim. Again, please go to My PD Party on all different social media. Please share the show. Please go to Michael J. Whelan at X. Again, we'll add that, but it's just an honor to be with both of you and all of our listeners today. You all make the show really travel around the world, but we don't want anything but a cure. However, until the cure is at everybody's doorsteps around the world, we still have to help those battling today, like Tim and Rebecca, and through awareness that sports, specifically golf, can really help slow the progression. It's just incredible, and so many don't know it. And we need to get this out there. This is why I love the show, not because it's our show, but because we're actually talking about every sport in the world. Well, I joke with Tim, we'll probably be like 100 or more because there's so many sports by the time this finishes. But it's really inspiring to be with you as always. And Michael's and Tim, both my family, and I talk to Michael, probably tired of me. We talk every day, but it's
Not at all.
until
I mean,
till we have
this is
more support for Rebecca, I'm not going to rest either.
well, I view this as a privilege that that you've welcomed me into this club that I didn't ever want to be a part of. But having said that, uh, we're going to get stuff done. I mean, it, as I said, it's kind of the athletic DNA in me. I've been behind many times, whether it's golf or sports, and we're gonna get things starting to move. Now that I know a little bit more about the golf world, I do have a lot of contacts with the writers, and it's the writers who really know which of these athletes have issues. A lot of it is done off the record, but these writers are very close to all of these athletes, and so that first step is to reach out to some of the top golf writers on planet Earth and see what they know and what they're willing to do to make some changes. So we're seeing a lot in golf with mental health. We're seeing a lot with cancer support. I think that Parkinson's has taken a back seat for now, and I'm not sure if that just has to do with not enough families have been stricken with Parkinson's issue. But once again, we will get this done, and we will start to get some things moving forward.
Excellent.
Thank you. Well, Tim and I have a wish and hope that if HBO, CBS Sports, and every single one of them want to either come on the show or have a 10-minute set for us to advocate around the world, we're always open and available. And again, thank you, Michael, and everyone listening. This has been another episode of All-Star PD Sportscast with my amazing co-host Tim, and again, just a safe place to discuss the world of sports, but more importantly, slowing the progression of PD. Thanks for joining us, and again, we send our love, support, and we'll all be fighting side by side until the cure is at everybody's doorsteps around the world. Please share this. Please support Michael. Again, we can't. This show wouldn't be possible without all of you, our listeners, viewers, and you're all our family in this fight for Parkinson's cure. And until that day is here, we're going to keep fighting for everyone battling today, in memory of all those unfortunately we lost, like my mother Sharon, due to Parkinson. So thanks everyone, and please stay tuned. So much more to come, so many more sports to go, but so much to learn, and I'm still learning each and every day. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.